since it's also getting quite a bit cooler out, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to drain the distilled water out of the radiator and run antifreeze. I love that effect. Take this all the way off just so I don't forget to put it back on. Don't worry, a lot of that was already in this green container. It's just a disgusting container. Look at that, we're almost ready. I'm stoked to drive, just so nervous. Yeah, there we go. Gonna dump this. Switching over to antifreeze. So I've now driven the car. It feels better than it's ever felt before. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. After I figured out the issues that I was having, everything straightened out quite nicely. All the changes, big and small. It's awesome. It's still kind of it's an oversized Hot Wheels or Matchbox between the exhaust and now the power steering pump behind me. Honestly, the car is so freaking loud. But anyway, things went a little bit sideways with the power steering job. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. We made it through. The car runs and drives, and I've got a week left until NCM. Leading up to that, I want to make this a little more pretty, maybe build some ducting and figure out how to clean this up. Over the winter, I intend to go back to my friend Lane's and see if he can help me with the overall aesthetics. I don't plan to have any more oopsies at the track, but now that we have power steering, we're probably in much better shape than we would have been otherwise. All that to say, I'm excited. Took apart the car like 2 months ago. The harness burned up 2 months ago. And today was the first day I pulled it out of the garage under its own power, drove down the street. I haven't driven too far yet. I want to make sure it's not leaking and that everything's working properly. I haven't even tested the secondary injectors yet. But I'm going into a weekend right now. Well, tomorrow's Friday. But going into the weekend, I'm going to make sure the car is solid. And if it is, things are going to get quite a bit more interesting pretty soon, so stay tuned. I almost forgot to mention, I never got the CAN bus controller to work, but I have time to figure that out, and there's no longer a gaping hole in that single DIN spot under my radio. So, yeah, that's the project. On to the next thing. So we're exactly 1 week out now from the big event. The car runs and drives and everything. So far it feels good. I have only tested it on wastegate pressure so far. It's making a decent amount of power. The injectors work, the secondary injectors. It has no leaks, not from the new power steering pump, not from the new injectors. It just seems to be holding together pretty well. And I'm gonna just do a quick inspection before I make my first run to the gas station on the new setup. I decided to remove the idle air control valve and I put the oil catch can back where it was. So now so much of it looks the way it did before, which isn't really a bad thing. The secondary injectors are kind of tucked away over here. Again, no leaking. I did do my first few pulls and popped off this upper pipe, but it's properly tightened now. I'm gonna take a look at the coolant real quick. could be topped off. And try not to spill this everywhere. Kind of enjoy this sort of thing. I spilled a little bit. Yeah, it didn't need very much. You may be able to tell it's a little overfilled. That is on purpose. My oil pan is meant to be filled to a higher capacity. I've already checked on my plugs. I could replace them all right now, but I'm gonna actually save that. I'm gonna go ahead and take the car off the trickle charger and take it for a little run. But real quick, I want to check one more thing. And I don't have a whole lot of time, so I really do need to hurry up and start the car so it can warm up. Yeah, it's a little... You can see some latent power steering fluid from the first little incident I had before I put the proper fittings on the end, but it looks like we have no leaks. No leaks at the fuel pressure regulator. Used a lot of Teflon tape and fittings. Yeah, the car's holding. So, let's see if we can go to the next level, which is boost control. I'm very curious to see how it holds up. Equipped with the paranoia, it's time to give it a shot. Left it overnight on the trickle charger. Got no leaks back here. Pretty solid. Power steering pump there. Activate the circuit. There will be no incidents. Let's see if that works. Let's fire her up and see how she does in cold start. I've got a full tank of E. Let's burn some of it. It feels good. Today while testing, I noticed that the fluid level of the pump went down quite a bit, a little lower than my liking. There are no apparent leaks. I don't see it dripping anywhere back here. Up front, it seems to be fine as well. So potentially possible that it's not leaking and it's all just circulated, and I didn't think to check it again, but I couldn't find any red line locally. I don't want to mix the type of power steering fluid I'm using, so I'm trying this instead. I picked up some Lucas power steering stop leak compatible with all power steering fluids. Now the thing is, if it's leaking, it's probably something that's my own fault. It could be that it's loose up at the rack and I just haven't noticed it yet. I'm not using this as a stop leak. I'm using it because it may be good for my rack and pinion. If it leaks more, then we'll know. For one, I have a leak that I've got to chase down. And by then, hopefully, we'll have gotten more red line. Oh, that is thick. That is very thick. Power steering reservoir is now full again. Tomorrow, I have more testing to do, so we'll see how it holds up. Fingers crossed that does something for us. So I've spent the past few days dialing in the car again, and I've been getting down the part throttle, and I've already done my wide open throttle tuning. The car seems to be running pretty consistent. I wanted to show you this plug, see how the burn line is right before the bend. Steven's taught me to read my spark plugs while tuning. Fuel Tech doesn't have knock control, and while that's a deal breaker for some people, this isn't something I was thinking a ton about when I went Fuel Tech. I didn't necessarily care. I just wanted to be able to shut off the motor if it saw oil pressure went too low. I didn't realize this would be a thing that I would have to be learning, but I think it's pretty cool. Advancing the timing until the burn mark is consistent right here. Now this is also a pretty worn down plug. Seen quite a few pulls. Usually you check, well, you choose one, do one pull on it, come back, look at it, and assess whether to add timing or retard timing. The reason I thought to film this one, because usually I don't film stuff like this is just me sort of showing where I am in the learning process. I just thought this plug looked pretty good and pretty representative of where we want to be, knowing that the car is dialed in pretty well and we're getting the most out of the current setup. So yeah, running BR8 ESs, gapped to 14 thousandths, using a feeler gauge to make sure that we're where we want to be. So the helmet is now rigged and ready with the BossBossRacing GoPro mount. Last time when I had my little skirmish that I didn't manage to catch on video, the adhesive fell off and the whole thing fell off. But it's a pretty good unit still. I thought about trying to use a chin mount, but I was really excited about trying out the BossBossRacing mount. And we'll see what kind of footage we get.